Stories are part of our life from our childhood. We are used to listening stories from grandma, parents, siblings, friends, teachers. And when we grew up, we started reading storybooks, novels, and watched movies to engage ourselves with stories of our liking. We don't know how many stories we have heard or read or watched so far. Maybe thousands, maybe millions. And we have forgotten majority of them. But there could be a few that remain very close to our heart, sitting somewhere in a corner deep inside our mind, even after so many years. Some stories are like that. They live with us throughout our life and will die with us. Those are the stories which have gone deep into our heart, made imprints in our subconscious, and made significant changes in our attitude, behavior, and even personality. Those are the stories which influenced and changed our approach to life, transformed us over a period of time, probably without our knowledge. Today I am going to share one such story that has transformed the lives of thousands of people. And this story is close to my heart. The name of the story is The Bridge. The story is written by Edwin H Friedman. It is one among 24 stories in his book, Friedman's Fables. When I say this story has transformed several people, that includes myself. I read this story way back in 2008. In fact, I was passing through a turbulent phase of my life that time. If I had not read this story that time, maybe I would not have taken some of the toughest decisions in my life. And I'm sure this story still influences me even today. Maybe without my knowledge, guiding me to take unbiased decisions. When I heard about this story, I wanted to read it. Unfortunately, this book was not available in India, so I had to get it from Switzerland with the help of Thomas Ruppel. And when I got this book, I was so excited. But after my first reading, I just wondered if it is that great a story as I heard. But somehow it didn't go from inside. It sat somewhere inside me and started disturbing me. So I read it a second time again. And this time what I understood was very different from what I read earlier. Then I read it a third time, then fourth, fifth. I don't know how many times, but every time I found different meanings. On a superficial level, this appears to be a simple story, but it has many underlying layers. To understand the real meaning of this story, we need to deep dive into it, tearing through its layers to reach the bottom. That's why this story is very different. So, what this story is all about? As you have rightly guessed, this story is about decision making. Making decisions in a detached manner without entering into emotional traps. We all take decisions every day, but many times our decisions are influenced by our emotions. As we know, decision making is a cognitive process starting with defining a problem, analyzing its impacts, identifying various alternative solutions, evaluating each alternative considering its pros and cons, and finally picking up the best alternative that fits well into the situation. Maybe the best is not the right terminology these days. It should be the least worst alternative that has less negative impact in our life. Now, more the alternatives, it's hard to take a decision because you have many choices to choose, and you can get confused about what is right. However, it is not true always. Sometimes we can get stuck with just two alternatives, and it becomes so hard to break the dilemma. And we get stuck for days, months, and maybe years. We procrastinate. You'll find that situation in this story. This story is also about change. As some wise person famously said, change is the only constant thing in life. Life could be tough for someone. Life could be suffering for someone. Life could be exciting for someone, and it can be beautiful for someone. But one thing is certain, life was full of twists and turns. And coping with such changes needs several adjustments in life. Adapting change is an internal process. And it is human tendency to resist to any changes that destabilizes our comfort or our state of equilibrium. It is inbuilt as part of our defense mechanism. Even if the change is for good, first we resist. And sometimes this resistance to change would grow as a demon, as a monster, and can become the biggest obstacle in our life, preventing us from achieving our own dream goal. You will find that situation also in this story. Then what? This story is all about life, the intricacies of life, which is hard to explain. Life is something that we try hard to learn throughout our life. So many wise men came on earth and gone. So many philosophers came and gone. So many religious leaders, spiritualists, and so-called messengers of God came and gone. They all preached and tried teaching us the meaning of life. But still, we try to understand the life, its meaning and the purpose. We still ask very fundamental questions to ourselves. Who am I? What am I? Why am I here? Where was I before I manifested on earth? Why am I doing what I am doing? Am I bound with my destiny? Is it my karma that makes me suffer? Where am I heading? What would happen to me once I leave my body? By the time we find answers to some of these questions, we are gone. Then the next generation will start asking same questions. That's how the life is. There is one ancient Indian story that illustrates the human life so well, so beautifully. There's a similar Zen story as well. It's named The Tiger and the Strawberry. But this story is slightly different. It's a story of a man being chased by a tiger. A man was chased by a hungry tiger in a forest, and he had no choice but to run for his life. But his run to safety has come to an abrupt end as he reached a cliff. He cannot run further. He thought of jumping down from the cliff. Though it was risky, he could break his limbs and could get injured badly. But it was better than eaten by the tiger. As he looked down, he noticed a large snake, an anaconda, coiled up in the valley just down below. Now he is caught between an approaching tiger and a huge anaconda down in the valley. And he had no choice but to climb over a tree that was there just over the cliff. In a hurry, he climbed up and reached one of the top branches. But it was unfortunate that the branch was weak and it broke, and he went falling down. However, this tree was covered with a lot of creepers. As he was falling down, he got entangled in the threads of these creepers. bundled himself into a web of thread, and finally went hanging down over a vine. He was just a few meters above the ground where the tiger was waiting, and went swinging between the cliff and the valley. On the high ground, the hungry tiger waiting, and in the deep valley, anaconda. If the vine breaks, he would fall either on the high ground or in the valley. If he falls on the ground, tiger will tear him off, make him into pieces and chew them. If he falls down, the anaconda will coil around him, crush his bones and swallow him as a whole. Now, there was a huge beehive in that tree, and in that mayhem of breaking the branch and him falling down, a portion of the beehive was hit and broken. The entire colony of honeybees came flying around him and started biting him all over his body. The pain was unbearable, but he was helpless to do anything because his limbs were tied as he was caught in a web of creepers. As he looked up to make his agony worse, he saw two mice, one black and one white, coming out of a pit in the same tree. Soon they came over the vine on which he is hanging and started chewing the vine. He is helpless to chase these mice. They will break the vine soon, and he would become food either to the tiger or to the anaconda. Suddenly he felt something fell over his cheek. He looked up again, and this time he found drops of honey falling from the broken beehive. As he kept looking up, another drop of honey fell down, and this time it fell exactly over his upper lip. He extended his tongue, licked it, and swallowed. He felt it so sweet, as if he had never ever enjoyed such sweetness, such a pleasure in his whole life. For a moment, he closed his eyes, forgot the tiger, forgot the anaconda, forgot the pain of bees stinging all over his body, and about the mice chewing the vine. He looked up again, not to check the mice chewing the vine, but to the beehive, and waited for the next drop of honey to fall. Now he wants more honey to swallow, to indulge in that pleasure and forget the reality around him. This is the state of affairs of human life. All the characters in this story are metaphors. The tiger, anaconda, bees, black and white mice are all metaphors. Hunted by the trauma of the past, scared of what is waiting in future, and stung by the present problems, while the day and night continuously consume our remaining life, we get indulged in that momentary pleasure, though we know it is temporary, and we call it living our life to its fullest. For the time being, let that man be hanging there. Let us leave him to face his ultimate fate, and let us go to the story, the bridge. As I said earlier, this story is not that simple, though it appears to be simple. It has many layers. So I want your attention fully here when you are listening to this story. There was a man who had given much thought to what he wanted from life. He had experienced many moods and trials. He had experimented with different ways of living, and he had had his share of both success and failure. At last, he had begun to see clearly where he wanted to go. Diligently, he searched for the right opportunity. Sometimes he came close, only to be pushed away. Often, he applied all of his strength and imagination, only to find the path hopelessly blocked. And then, at last it came. But the opportunity would not wait. It would be made available only for a short time. If it were seen that he was not committed, the opportunity would not come again. Eager to arrive, he started on his journey. With each step, he wanted to move faster. With each thought about his goal, his heartbeat quicker. With each vision of what lay ahead, he found renewed vigor. Strength that had left it since his early youth returned, and desires, all kind of desires, reawakened from their long dormant positions. Hurrying along, he came upon a bridge that crossed through the middle of a town. It had been built high above a river in order to protect it from the floods of spring. He started across. Then he noticed someone coming from the opposite direction. As they moved closer, it seemed as though the other was coming to greet him. He could clearly see, however, that he did not know this other, who was dressed similarly except for something tied around his waist. When they were within hailing distance, he could see that what the other had about his waist was a rope. It was wrapped around him many times and probably, if extended, would reach a length of 30 feet. The other began to uncurl the rope, and just as they were coming close, the stranger said, "Pardon me, would you be so kind as to hold the end a moment?" Surprised by this politely phrased but curious request, he agreed without a thought, reached out and took it. "Thank you," said the other, who then added, "2 hands now, and remember, hold tight." Whereupon the other jumped off the bridge. Quickly, the free-falling body hurtled the distance of the rope's length, and from the bridge, the man abruptly felt the pull. Instinctively, he held tight and was almost dragged over the side. He managed to brace himself against the edge, however, and after having caught his breath, looked down at the other dangling close to oblivion. "What are you trying to do?" he yelled. "Just hold tight," said the other. "This is ridiculous," the man thought and began trying to haul the other in. He could not get the leverage, however. It was as though the weight of the other person and the length of the rope had been carefully calculated in advance so that together they created a counterweight just beyond his strength to bring the other back to safety. "Why did you do this?" the man called out. "Remember," said the other, "if you let go, I will be lost." "But I cannot pull you up," the man cried. "I am your responsibility," said the other. "Well, I did not ask for it," the man said. "If you let go, I am lost," repeated the other. He began to look around for help, but there was no one. How long would he have to wait? Why did this happen to befall him now, just as he was on the verge of true success? He examined the side, searching for a place to tie the rope. Some protrusion, perhaps, or maybe a hole in the boards. But the railing was unusually uniform in shape. There was no space between the boards. There was no way to get rid of this newfound burden, even temporarily. "What do you want?" he asked the other hanging below. "Just your help," the other answered. "How can I help? I cannot pull you in, and there is no place to tie the rope so that I can go and find someone to help me help you." "I know that. Just hang on. That will be enough. Tie the rope around your waist. It will be easier." "Why did you do this?" he asked again. "Don't you see what you have done? What possible purpose could you have in mind?" "Just remember," said the other, "my life is in your hands." What should he do? If I let go, all my life I will know that I let this other die. If I stay, I risk losing my momentum towards my own long sought after salvation. Either way, this will hound me forever. With ironic humor, he thought to die himself instantly, to jump off the bridge while he was still holding on. That he would tease this fool, but he wanted to live and live fully. What a choice I had to make. How shall I ever decide? As time went by, still no one came. The critical moment of decision was drawing near. To show his commitment to his own goals, he would have to continue on his journey now. It was already almost too late to arrive in time. But what a terrible choice to have to make. A new thought occurred to him. While he could not pull this other up solely by his own efforts, if the other would shorten the rope from his end by curling it around his waist again and again, together they could do it. Actually, the other could do it by himself, so long as he, standing on the bridge, kept it still and steady. Now listen, he shouted down. I think I know how to save you. And he explained his plan. But the other was not interested. You mean you won't help? But I told you I cannot pull you up myself, and I don't think I can hang on much longer either. You must try, the other shouted back in tears. If you fail, I die. The point of decision had arrived. What should he do? My life or this other's? And then a new idea, a revelation, so new in fact, it seemed heretical. So alien was it to his traditional way of thinking. I want you to listen carefully, he said, because I mean what I am about to say. I will not accept the possession of choice for your life, only for my own. The possession of choice of your own life, I hereby give back to you. What do you mean? The other asked, afraid. I mean, simply, it's up to you. You decide which way this ends. I will become the counterweight. You do the pulling and bring yourself up. I will even tug a little from here. He began unwinding the rope and braced himself again against the side. You cannot mean what you say, the other screamed. You would not be so selfish. I am your responsibility. What could be so important that you would let someone die? Do not do this to me. He waited a moment. There was no change in the tension of the rope. I accept your choice, he said at last, and freed his hands.